Properly training your dog to respond to your Havahart wireless fence and its containment boundary is critical to the effective operation of your fence and to your dog's long-term happiness. Over the next few minutes, we'll review in detail the 5 phases of dog training, and we'll begin with an optional preliminary training phase. The core of the training sessions will take approximately a month for you and your dog to complete successfully. A period of continued training and monitoring will also be required afterward as you gradually remove the training flags from your yard. Before we begin, let's review how to properly fit your dog's Havahart wireless collar. Position the wireless collar high on your dog's neck, but below your dog's regular collar. The probe should be under your dog's chin and centered. Make sure the probes maintain contact with your dog's skin at all times. Adjust the wireless collar to fit snugly, but not too tightly. You should be able to slide the tip of one finger between your dog's coat and one of the wireless collar probes. 2 sets of probes of different lengths are provided to accommodate various coat and hair lengths. Decide which probe length is best for your dog and his coat. Once the wireless collar is adjusted to the correct fit, remove the wireless collar and trim the excess strap using scissors. Be sure to leave extra room if your dog is growing or if he grows a long winter coat. It is important to always remove the wireless collar before adjusting any system component. Never leave the wireless collar on your dog for more than 12 hours at a time. Routinely clean the probes and your dog's neck to prevent skin irritation. Now that your dog's wireless collar is properly fitted, let's get started. Flag awareness training, while optional, is still important as it gives your dog more time to become familiar and comfortable with the training flags. We recommend that you complete this preliminary phase of training in sessions lasting for 3 days and which include 2 to 3 10 to 15-minute sessions daily. Prior to a training session, remove the battery from the collar. Then fit the Havahart wireless collar around your dog's neck. Place a different non-metal collar above the Havahart wireless collar and attach a leash to it. Make sure that this second collar does not apply pressure to the probes on the Havahart wireless collar. Otherwise, you could hurt your dog when pulling on the leash. Walk your dog on the leash inside the roaming area for about 5 minutes, making sure to avoid contact with the trigger zone. Now, approach one of the training flags. When your dog gets close to the flag, gently shake the flag while saying, "Bad flags," in a firm, disapproving tone, but don't yell or frighten him. Lead your dog back into the roaming area and praise him. Repeat this process at several different training flags. It's always important to end your training sessions with lots of playtime and praise, all while staying in the roaming area and keeping at least 10 feet away from the flags. Remove the Havahart wireless collar after each session. Playtime, positive reinforcement, and removing the Havahart wireless collar are key elements of each training phase. When your dog avoids going near the training flags, but will walk anywhere within the roaming area, you're ready to proceed to Phase 1. Phase 1, or passive training, teaches your dog to stay away from the training flags. Training lasts for 3 days and includes 2 to 3 10 to 15-minute sessions each day. Before starting each Phase 1 training session, make sure the system is working properly. Set the correction level on the collar to tone only. Carry the Havahart wireless collar, without your dog, to the trigger zone and listen for the tone. Hear that? That means you're good to continue. Fit the Havahart wireless collar around your dog's neck. Place a different non-metal collar above the Havahart wireless collar and attach a leash to it. Make sure that this second collar does not apply pressure to the probes on the Havahart wireless collar, as you could hurt your dog when pulling on the leash. Walk your dog on the leash inside the roaming area for about 5 minutes, making sure to avoid contact with the trigger zone. Okay, now calmly and slowly approach the trigger zone flag line, and without looking at your dog, give him the opportunity to walk into the zone. He will hear the tone from his wireless collar as he enters the zone. Allow him to remain in the trigger zone for several seconds. Now, gently shake a training flag in front of your dog while saying "bad flags" in a firm, disapproving tone, but don't yell or frighten your dog. This action will teach him to associate the flags with the tone coming from the Havahart wireless collar. Lead your dog back into the roaming area and praise him. Repeat this process, moving from the roaming area into the trigger zone and back at several different training flag positions. As training progresses over the next 2 days, you should notice that your dog returns to the roaming area in response to the tone without any prompting. End your training sessions with lots of playtime and praise, staying in the roaming area and at least 10 feet away from the flags. And don't forget to remove the Havahart wireless collar after each session. You'll know that you're ready to move on to Phase 2 when your dog avoids the training flags as you and he approach them and actually turns to walk back to the roaming area without any assistance or a command. Ready? Great. On to Phase 2. Phase 2 is all about active training. In other words, here's where your dog learns to associate the flags with both tone and correction. Phase 2 encompasses 4 days and, like Phase 1, includes 2 to 3 10 to 15 minute sessions each day. Always make sure the system is working correctly before beginning a Phase 2 training session. Set the system's correction level to static level 1. Then carry the Havahart wireless collar to the trigger zone and test it using the heart-shaped collar tester. The collar tester will light up to confirm everything is working. Now, just as in Phase 1, fit the Havahart wireless collar around your dog's neck. Place a different non-metal collar above the Havahart wireless collar and attach a leash to it, making sure that this second collar does not apply pressure to the probes on the Havahart wireless collar. Otherwise, you could hurt your dog when pulling on the leash. Following the procedure from Phase 1, walk your dog on the leash inside the roaming area for about 5 minutes, making sure to avoid contact with the trigger zone. Now you're ready to calmly approach the trigger zone flag line. Without looking at your dog, give him the opportunity to walk into the zone, where he will hear the tone and receive a static correction. Allow him to remain in the trigger zone for several seconds. Remember, the system is set to static level 1, so the mild corrections will not harm your dog. Next, gently shake a training flag to remind your dog that the flags are associated with the tone and static correction coming from the wireless collar. Now, lead your dog back into the roaming area and praise him. Repeat this process, moving from the roaming area into the trigger zone and back at several different training flag positions. However, and this is important, do not force your dog to receive too many static corrections in any session, as this may make him nervous or anxious. In fact, you may have to decrease the speed of the training schedule or add more days to it if your dog seems to be stressed by the regimen. If he does not respond to the static correction, make sure that the Havahart wireless collar is fitted properly. If he continues to be unresponsive, increase the correction to level 2 or higher as necessary. As a built-in safety feature, your dog will be corrected only when he leaves the roaming area and will not receive a correction when returning to the roaming area from outside the trigger zone. As always, end your training sessions with plenty of playtime and praise, removing the Havahart wireless collar after each session. When your dog consistently stops going near any of the training flags, it's time for Phase 3, introducing distractions. Now your dog is ready for Phase 3, learning to remain inside the roaming area despite the temptation of distractions outside of the trigger zone. Relax. Your dog will be on his leash throughout this training phase, so you'll be in complete control. Phase 3 runs for 4 days and includes 2 to 3 10 to 15 minute sessions each day. Set the correction level on the collar to static level 1. Then follow the wireless collar fitting and leash instructions in Phases 1 and 2, fitting the Havahart wireless collar and a non-metal collar to your dog and attaching the leash to the second collar. Again, make sure the second collar does not apply pressure to the probes on the Havahart wireless collar, which could hurt your dog when the leash is being pulled on. Now, walk your dog on his leash toward the training flags, but this time, create a distraction. For example, Toss a toy or treat outside the trigger zone. Have one of your children walk by and not pay attention to the dog, or ask a neighbor to walk her dog outside of the trigger zone. How does your dog react? If he does not move toward the distraction, praise him immediately. However, if he moves toward the distraction, allow him to walk through the trigger zone and feel the correction. Then, gently shake a training flag to remind him that the flags are associated with the tone and static correction coming from the wireless collar. If he doesn't return to the roaming area within a few seconds, promptly lead him back to the area and praise him. Repeat this training step at several training flags. If your dog doesn't respond to the static correction, make sure that the Havahart wireless collar fits properly. If he continues to be unresponsive, increase the static correction by one level or higher as necessary. After each session, play with and praise your dog well inside the roaming area and remove the Havahart wireless collar. Is your dog ready for Phase 4? The answer is yes if he doesn't go beyond the trigger zone, even when distracted, but does walk anywhere within the roaming area. Looks like your dog is ready for off-leash supervision. That means exactly what it sounds like, training your dog to stay inside the trigger zone without being on a leash. As in previous phases, Phase 4 runs 4 days and initially includes 2 to 3 10 to 15-minute sessions each day. But in this phase, the length of the training sessions gradually increases to an hour or more. Before we get started, please note that you do not want to leave your dog unattended during this phase of training. First, set the correction level on the collar to static level 1 and fit the Havahart wireless collar around your dog's neck, placing a different non-metal collar above the Havahart wireless collar. But this is where Phase 4 is different than earlier training sessions. Do not attach a leash to the second collar. Walk around inside the roaming area and play with your dog while he's off the leash. Now, take your focus off your dog and walk to another part of the yard, but keep an eye on him. If he crosses into and goes beyond the trigger zone, lead him back inside the roaming area. Your dog will not be corrected when he returns to the roaming area. Gently shake a training flag to remind him that the flags are associated with the tone and static correction coming from the Havahart wireless collar. If necessary, repeat the training with distractions and a leash from Phase 3. Conclude the session with lots of playtime and praise while staying in the roaming area and at least 10 feet away from the training flags. And of course, remove the Havahart wireless collar. When your dog no longer goes beyond the trigger zone, even with distractions, but will walk anywhere within the roaming area, move on to Phase 5. You've reached the final phase of training or dog monitoring. Beginning with short sessions and gradually increasing the session duration, Phase 5 provides ongoing off-leash supervision, allowing you to monitor your dog's activity and provide necessary reinforcement. By now, your dog should be comfortable inside the roaming area and be reluctant to cross the trigger zone with or without distractions. Start by, again, setting the correction level on the collar to static level 1 and fitting the Havahart wireless collar around your dog's neck, placing a different non-metal collar above it. Leave your dog alone by going inside your house. Allow him to roam freely off-leash within the roaming area, but keep an eye on him. End the session by removing the Havahart wireless collar and playing with and praising your dog while remaining at least 10 feet away from the training flags. After completing Phase 5 training and 3 additional weeks of successful dog containment, begin to gradually remove the training flags. Remove every other flag every few days. Once your dog becomes accustomed to the trigger zone, he may be uncomfortable leaving the roaming area for activities such as walks or riding in the car. If you need to take your dog out of the roaming area, always remove the Havahart wireless collar and use one of the following 3 methods. 1. Walk your dog outside of the roaming area while on a leash. Cross the same area of the trigger zone flag line each time, giving a command such as "cross" and praising your dog for crossing this specific area. Always leave this area with him on a leash. 2. Carry your dog out 3. Take him out in your car. Congratulations! You and your dog have successfully completed all phases of training. Now enjoy all the peace of mind that comes with knowing your dog is safely contained in your Havahart Wireless Fence. If you have any specific questions regarding your Havahart Wireless Fence, please consult the training section of your instruction manual or contact one of our consumer care specialists. Havahart Wireless, the leading innovator of digital fence solutions, wishes you years of fun with your dog.